what has just happened has been a rather calamitous episode with the tea trolley and the werewolf and the parasol. And this was the scene I saw from before I did it. Oh, wow. Under ordinary circumstances, I have to apologize for the fact that I do not have a British accent. Because strangely enough, people always expect me to. Under ordinary circumstances, walks in Hyde Park were the kind of thing a single young lady of good breeding was not supposed to do without her mamma and possibly an elderly female relation or two in attendance. Miss Tarabati felt such rules did not entirely apply to her as she was a spinster, had been a spinster for as long as she could remember. In her more acerbic moments, she felt she had been born a spinster. Mrs. Noontville had not even bothered with the expenditure of a come-out or a proper season for her eldest daughter. "Really, darling," Alexia's mother had said at the time in tones of the deepest condescension, "with that nose and that skin, there simply is no point in us going to the expense. I have got your sisters to think of." So Alexia, whose nose really wasn't that big and whose skin really wasn't that tan, had gone on the shelf at 15. Not that she'd ever actually coveted the burden of a husband, but it would have been nice to know she could get one if she ever changed her mind. Alexia did enjoy dancing, so she would have liked to attend at least one ball as an available young lady rather than always ending up skulking in libraries. These days she attended balls as nothing more than her sister's chaperone, and the libraries abounded. But spinsterhood did mean she could go for a walk in Hyde Park without her mamma, and only the worst sticklers would object. Luckily, such sticklers, like the contributors to the Morning Post, did not know Miss Alexia Tarabati's name. However, with Lord Macon's harsh remonstrations still ringing in her ear, Alexia did not feel she could go for a walk completely unchaperoned, even though it was mid-morning and the anti-supernatural sun shone quite brilliantly. So she took her trusty brass parasol, for the sake of the sun, and Miss Ivy Thistlepenny, for the sake of Lord Macon's easily offended sensibilities. Miss Ivy Thistlepenny was a dear friend of Miss Alexia Tarabati's. They had known each other long enough to trespass on all the well-fortified territory of familiarity. So when Alexia sent round to see if Ivy wanted a walk, Ivy was very well aware of the fact that a walk was only the surface gloss to the proceedings. Ivy Thistlepenny was the unfortunate victim of circumstances that she'd be only just pretty, only just wealthy, and possessed of a terrible propensity for wearing extremely silly hats. This last being the facet of Ivy's character that Alexia found the most difficult to bear. In general, however, she found Ivy a restful, congenial, and, most importantly, willing partner in any excursion. In Alexia, Ivy had found a lady of understanding and intelligence, sometimes overly blunt for her own delicate sensibilities, but loyal and kind under even the most trying of circumstances. Ivy had learned to find Alexia's bluntness entertaining, and Alexia had learned one did not always have to look at one's friends' hats. Thus, each having discovered a means to overlook the most tiresome aspect of the other's personality early on in the relationship, the two girls developed a fixed friendship to the mutual benefit of both. Their Hyde Park conversations reflected their typical mode of communication. "Ivy, my dear," said Miss Tarabati as her friend bustled up, "how marvelous of you to find time to walk at such short notice. What a hideous bonnet. I do hope you cannot pay too much for it." "Alexia, how perfectly horrid of you to criticize my hat. Why should I not be able to walk this morning? You know I never have anything better to do on Thursdays. Thursdays are so tiresome, don't you find?" replied Miss Thistlepenny. And Miss Tarabati said, "Really, I wish you would take me with you when we went shopping, Ivy. Much horror might be avoided. Why should Thursday be any different than any other weekday?" And so on. The day was quite a fine one, and the two ladies walked arm in arm, their full skirts swishing in the smaller, more manageable bustle, just come into fashion last season, making it comparatively easy to move around. Rumor had it that in France, certain ladies had dispensed with the bustle altogether, but that scandalous mode had yet to reach London. Ivy and Alexia's parasols were raised against the sun, although As Alexia was fond of saying, such an effort was wasted on her complexion. Why, oh why did vampire-style paleness have to rule so thoroughly the fashionable world? They strolled along, presenting a fetching picture, Ivy in cream muslin with rose flowers, and Alexia in her favorite blue walking gown with velvet edging. Both outfits were trimmed with those many rows of lace, deep-pleated flounces and tucks to which only the most stylish aspired. If Miss Heselpenny sported an overabundance of the above, it must be understood that it was the result of too much effort rather than too little. Partly due to the pleasant weather and partly due to the latest craze of elaborate walking dresses, Hyde Park was decidedly crowded. Many a gentleman tipped his hat in their direction, annoying Alexia with constant interruptions, and flattering Ivy with such marked attentions. Really, grumbled Miss Terrabonny, what has possessed everyone this morning when we think we were actually tempting marriage prospects? Alexia, you may see yourself as off the market, remonstrated her friend, smiling shyly at a respectable-looking gentleman in a handsome bay gelding. But I refuse to accept such an injurious fate. Miss Terrabonny sniffed. Speaking of which, how was the Duchess's ball last night? Ivy was always one for gossip. Her family being too nearly middle class to be invited to any but the largest of balls, she had to rely on Alexia for such detail as went unreported by the Morning Post. Sadly for Ivy, her dear friend was not the most reliable or loquacious sort.